Hello. Welcome to another Financial Friday.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. A.D. Burns, and this is my co-host, Brother Mr. James Jones. How you doing, Brother Mr. James Jones?
I'm doing good, Pastor Burns. I'm doing real good.
Yes, you just celebrated an anniversary last week, huh?
Yes.
How many years?
19 years.
Married 19 years. Wow, that time go fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes slow, but for the most part, it's always going fast.
All right. Well, that's good. Listen, we're excited again for another Financial Fridays, and let me say to those of you who are consistently running into somebody that I don't know. I meet new people every week that listen to Financial Friday, and so it's always a joy to know that the information is helping you because you have to be diligent when it comes to um, getting your finances together. You have to be diligent and determined that you're gonna, do this thing, and you got to be disciplined if you're gonna make it work. And so, stay with it. James would always say, "Small adjustments, small adjustments."
Yes.
And the old saying, "Rome wasn't built in a day."
Yes.
And so, small adjustments. Keep making small adjustments. James.
Yes, Pastor. Are you ready?
That was your cue. Hello.
Oh. Hello, everyone, and good evening to all my grinders. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be able to share with everybody. So yeah, I'm always ready.
All right. And so a grinder. What's a grinder?
Ooh, I think I say it a little different every time.
That's all right.
But a grinder is somebody who sticks to the process. They grind out all of the gunk, all of the murk, and they keep going until they have accomplished and completed what they started. So a grinder is a hard worker, determined to do what they have called to do. So they become an expert in the field because they're always doing the same process.
All right.
Like all things, if you do it the same thing 1,000 times, you learn all the nice nuances of doing it so you can do it faster.
Well, that goes along with what we're saying. When we say on Financial Fridays, we're rising out of our financial slumps and we're thriving in financial freedom. That sounds like a grinder.
Yeah, that sounds like a grinder to me.
Because you just don't step out of it. You got to grind your way out, don't
you? Yeah. Every day. People think it goes year by year, but it's not. It's every day. One step
at a time. Small adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's amazing how easy you can get back in those bad ruts if you're not careful about, establishing habits and disciplines that you're able to continue on that pathway to financial freedom, because you'll get that little breather. And if you're not careful, and that's one of the things I'm really kind of uneasy about when you talk about the idea of using credit cards as emergency funds. You have to be really disciplined, and you have to really be true to what emergency fund is when you talk about using a credit card, because sometimes we think things are emergency is not emergency. And so when you say emergency, Brother James, Brother Minister James Jones, when you say an emergency, I just want people to be clear on it. When you say emergency, you mean what?
An actual emergency.
Okay.
Life, limb, or eyesight.
Okay.
Someone in the hospital. Somebody needs this in order to go to work. Those are typically considered emergencies.
Okay.
Some things that are not an emergency. So I got to give, those are definite emergencies. Here are some things that are not definite emergencies. A new shoe. Some new jewelry. Those are not emergencies. Why? Because if you have jewelry, wear what you already have. If you have shoes, that can do the job. Now, I'm not talking about you need cleats and all you have is running shoes. Go buy cleats. That's not considered an emergency. That's something that you can plan for. An emergency is things that you do not plan for or you cannot anticipate, like a car accident.
Mhm.
Hey, that's an emergency. We need to get some stuff done. Hey,
Okay.
something big event that is happening. Out of nowhere, somebody's getting married. Out of nowhere, somebody's in the hospital. Out of nowhere, we now have these things that are coming up in our lives. Those are emergencies, unplanned events that happen that can drastically change the outcome of your life.
So when you say somebody get married, so then somebody get married next year, May 29th, and then I know now what is the date? September 3rd, and then on May 20th, I realized that I didn't I don't have a suit. So then that's an emergency for me to go buy a suit.
Their wedding is in December.
No, the wedding is next May.
Oh, no. It'll be an emergency if you don't do what you need to do beforehand. Remember, unexpected. It doesn't mean out a planned event. It means an unexpected planned event. So if you say I got a wedding next year, May, then that's a planned event.
So because you fail to plan, don't make it an emergency.
Correct. If
So
you got 6 months to do it and you say I'm gonna hang out until it becomes an emergency, all you're doing is delaying an inevitable.
okay, and so I know I decided that I'm gonna go to the family reunion next July, and so on July 1st, I use my credit card to pay for the hotel and rent me a car and pay for the food. Is that emergency?
That's good. That's good. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it, Pastor. I don't want to say it, but man, it's a loseristic. That's so loseristic. Like, come on now, like this, like
don't say it.
Dude, it's so loseristic.
That's loseristic.
That is so loseristic.
So what is loseristic? We might have somebody tune in that ain't been tuned in before, and so they wonder, loseristic. What does that mean?
Loseristic is when you know that you have the right way and you have a path to take the right way and you have a setup to do the right thing and you still do the wrong thing. That's just so loseristic. If we got a wedding in June and I have a job and I can save up for this piece. Now I'm not talking about stuff happening. I'm talking about just the wedding. I have a day. I have a time when I need to get the suit together because typically you're gonna go to Man's Warehouse and it's gonna be rented. So these things are already in order. You already know the date and time you need to have that money together. You need the backwards plan and get yourself ready. If you don't, talk to Man's Warehouse. Guess what they have? They have a person on staff who can tell you how much money needs to be down on what day.
Okay.
They can do all the work for you. This is not nothing new. If you have
what's a backwards plan? You say a backwards plan.
Okay, so
backwards plan.
So typically, if you get married, right? If you're gonna get married in June, that means all the final alterations and payments need to be in by May. So we know just by the way it works is that all the payments need to be in by May. If the suit costs $500, typically for guys is not a lot of money over the course of time. Now, for some people, $500 immediately may be a lot. That may be some. It may be a lot to others, a little to some, right? But they give you. Excuse me. If you're talking about from May all the way now, you're talking about a total of about 8 to 9 months. So if you was to extrapolate how much that costs, you're putting less than $100 away every month. So by putting $75 away, you will hit that $500 mark. So it's already planned out for you. $40 here, $35 here, $40 here, $35 here, and then you will hit your $500 mark. So if my math is within range. So now you hit your $500 mark.
So in essence, you're saying the backwards plan is when you go to the end, the date that is due or the date that the event is, or the date that you want to have, whatever it is that you want to have. And then you plan backwards up to the date that you are in, and then you divide up or you come up with some reasonable system of amounts that you're going to save or you're going to pay down until you get to that certain D-Day, and you would have the money. So you don't have to wait and don't do nothing. And then 1 month before the event, you scrambling, or the month of the event, now you're trying to classify that as an emergency. That's not an emergency because that's a planned event. That's something that you could have looked at, and then you back to find out what you needed to do up to that point, and you could have made that happen. And
Correct.
so I wanted them to be, clear on that so that people understand using a credit card for emergency fund don't take away your responsibility to look at things as a planned event or a real emergency. And if there's a planned event, you don't have in the back of your mind that if it don't come together, I can use my credit card. No, you find reasonable amount that you can do. You may not be able to do, a big number, but reasonable amounts between now and that particular time. And then you have to be disciplined. You have to be, these are going to be my 3 words. It's going to have to be disciplined. You're going to have to be diligent, and you're going to have to be determined, and, discipline is going to be very important because you'll see that money stacking up, but that money is for May, and then it's Christmas time, and now you want to use the money that you've been stacking up for May for Christmas. No, you need to back and look at Christmas and begin to do the same thing. And you begin to do that for each event. Am I saying that right?
You're saying that correctly.
All right. And
I think we may have to go teach a whole class on backwards planning.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should. I think we should do that, especially with the 90-day challenge that we're talking about, and looking at that. We'll talk about that another time. But when we look at that, and actually beginning to put some money up, on a regular basis, it's so important that when you see the money grow, that you don't, now all of a sudden they got these new Jordans came out and you just got to have them. Or now all of a sudden they got this, you've been wanting to get your windows tinted on your car. So now you're going to, that the money growing, and then you're going to use it. You got to be disciplined. You got to be diligent, and you have to be determined that you're going to rise out of your financial slump and you're going to thrive in financial freedom, that you're not going to be a slave to debt. Listen, we better go ahead and get into our lesson for tonight. We're in that lesson. I ain't plan on going that deep. I just wanted to, because I know we've been talking about that emergency fund, and on the one thing you talked about using a credit card, getting a credit card for that, and so I wanted to hamper down on that because I know how easy it is for a person to reach for the credit card when they fail to do the right thing when it comes to plan. Because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yes.
So tonight we got a couple of things we want to talk about, because when we talk about building an emergency fund, when we talk about being financial free, when we talk about getting rid of debt, you have to have a way of bringing your income up, and so it's important. We talked about multiple streams on last week, and it's important to have different ways of bringing up your income. And so there are certain things that some people are more comfortable with others. And so stay with us, and we'll ring your bell. But we're gonna start out tonight by talking about investing. Now,
Yes.
I got a bit before investing. I had a bad advisor who kept telling me to leave it in there, leave it in there. And as a result, when it all came down to it, I ended up losing $25,000. And so $25,000, of course, for James is not a lot of money, but $25,000 to Bill Gates is a lot of money. $25,000 is $25,000 to whoever. You know what I mean? A dollar is a dollar. I don't care if you got $1 billion. A dollar is still a dollar, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So
dollar is still a dollar.
the billionaire don't look at a dollar at, oh, that's it, that ain't nothing. No, he's very conscious of money that he uses and how he.
Yeah.
And so I lost that $25,000, and then they gave me all of these different excuses, and that's how it goes, blah blah blah. But as a result of that, I became kind of gun shy when it comes to investing.
Yeah.
And my wife, she does some trading and things of that sort, and I'm good with that. If that's what she wants to do. But I'm a little gun shy, and so when we talk about investing, we talk about not only investing wisely, but maybe somewhere down the road we'll talk about how we have to be careful as far as how we manage that investment.
Yes.
So James, talk to us about investing wisely.
Okay. So the biggest thing, the biggest thing when it comes to investing wisely that people mistake. Oh, my slides are up. Okay. So real quick, it's all about acceleration. We go into just living expenses. The formula is always the formula. So always, if ever I get an opportunity, I want to make sure that everyone knows the formula is 10% going to God, 10% going to the government, 40% is what we're talking about, and that's our living expense. 20 is going towards investments, 10 is going towards your emergency fund, 5 is going towards accelerating your debts or your living, and then the last 5% is your sanity. This is the definition of the rate of speed. So when it comes to acceleration, it is velocity divided by time. So how fast you can move to reduce an item creates your acceleration. Okay, so when you talk about debt, your acceleration is accelerated when you have your income minus less expenses. So then you can accelerate a lot faster. So the goal is to reduce or eliminate all debts and then to increase your life. Not just to increase your finances, but always to increase your life. Because that's the biggest goal. It's not about having money, it's about having a state of being. So that's always the biggest thing that I always want to talk about. And now we can get into you. I believe you could do it. And if I ever get an opportunity to tell you to your face or over any digital platform, anyone can do this. So I want to make sure I harden down on that so everyone knows anyone can do this. So now we can get into it. Okay. Whew. All right. I want to make sure, because I always want to make sure everybody understands that these principles aren't out there for just the people who have money or those who got some secret knowledge. This isn't. Basic financial literacy is for everybody. So we're talking about acceleration. 2 weeks ago, we talked about cutting out unnecessary expenses and then networking effectively. Just last week, we talked about enhancing your skills and then diversifying your income streams. Now we're going to go a little deeper and go to the left. So when it comes to investing wisely, when it talks about that, it talks directly about stocks, directly about bonds, directly about your real estate or other passive income. So there's a lot of companies out there that allows you to do to borrow or to make stock purchases on lower amounts. So you can purchase things like Apple, like Google, like Walmart, blue chip stocks, but you can also purchase other ones like like your Audis or your grocery stores, some of your chain restaurants and or gas stations, things that people may not be noticeably or notice that these things can affect you, but you do have the ability based or the goodness of different platforms and you have the ability to invest in these things and get an actual return. So when it comes to investing wisely, one of the biggest things I tell people to invest in is invest in things that you use. It was a colleague of mine. He actually drunk Monster every single day, twice for breakfast. He drank one during the day. He drank two for lunch. He drank one during the day. He drank two before he left for the day. Guess what? That's a lot of Monsters to drinking a day. And I mean, he did that consistently every single day, Monday through Friday. And then even when I came back on the next week, he still did the same consistency. So he's running through a 24 case in less than 2 weeks. So what advice do you think I gave him? I didn't tell him, hey, go invest in Apple. I think it's going up. I didn't say go invest in Walmart because I think it's going up. I said, hey, guess what? Since you drink so much Monster, you may want to invest in Monster. And that's what investing wisely means. It doesn't mean you're out there chasing the highs and the lows. That means you're investing in things or products or services that you actually use. By investing in things that you use, you have a better opportunity to get all of your money back and or to actually make a difference in the company that you support. The person who actually coined this ideology and made it better was Warren Buffett. And many people who do investing know who Warren Buffett is.
Yeah, Warren Buffett, he has a lot of different, of course, quotes out there. But one of his quotes, it talks about a person. Let me see. Emma.
Okay. Okay. So while you seeking, so I can give you a brief example of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett once took a challenge against a bunch of college kids who was going to the market, and he put those against a bunch of kids. And when I say kids, I do mean elementary school kids. And guess who won when he took them to a simulation of the market? The kids won because the college kids were looking at a bunch of programs and making predictions. The kids invested in things in which they liked because guess what? Kids like certain items. And if all the kids like all the items, that company will do good or bad, or that product will do good or bad. And they did beat out the college kids. And he only did that just to teach a lesson about investing in those things that you like versus those things that you hope for.
Yeah. Warren Buffett, he said the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you earn. And so when you talk about this person with the Monster drink or people and the products that they're using that invested in those things, being able to acknowledge that, because oftentimes we don't think about those kind of things. My wife used to always say that to me about different products that I use a lot of. And she said, you ought to invest in that. One of the ones she told me about that, I kick myself in the pants to this day is Amazon. Because when Amazon first started, I was on board with that because, for me to go to the store, and be able to do what I do and be able to, do that online, that let me be at almost two places at one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have to go to Best Buy and look through there and then leave and go to Walmart and look through there and leave and go to another store and look. I could just go online, in 5 minutes I'm done, and then I'm still doing this. But anyway, I didn't do that. And so now we look and see where Amazon is now. Your boy probably could have been sitting in Hawaii somewhere right about now.
Yes. I mean, what you highlight is a prime example. When Amazon first started, it was a college book company. You get your college books from Amazon. Imagine how many college kids that was doing undergrad degrees, current degrees, master's degrees, right? All them college kids that was using Amazon for all of their books. Imagine if a number of them was like, I think Amazon is a really good place to get books. I'm going to buy stock in this company.
Okay.
And this is before Amazon sold cookies, creams, and all your snickerdoodles. This is before Amazon sold bikes. This is just when Amazon was just a college book place. You go there, you get your college books, it gets sent to you. Imagine that people invested in those things. So highlighting those things are always highlighting things that you know that you're utilizing does work.
Okay. All right. And that's so important. And I think that oftentimes when we really understand that, I saw this a mantra that's I thought was a very good mantra for us to go by, because one of the things I think that happens all the time is you could get impatient, you know what I mean, and you want to see it happen now, but you need to tell yourself, I invest with wisdom and patience, trusting in God's guidance for a fruitful return. And so wisdom and patience, and then just trusting in God's guidance. And so a lot of times we take for granted, now when you talk about blue chip stocks, I'm not sure, does that mean mediocre stock or inexpensive stock, or what does blue chip stock mean?
Oh, so not to go so in depth that I lose anybody, but a blue chip stock is typically a stock that has been doing good for a number of years. Mm-hmm. And the price for the stock is relatively in a good position. And when I say in a good position, that depends on the market. So don't get stuck on it will cost $20 or that it will cost $120. That's not the point. The point isn't the cost of the share. It is where it is in the market. So it may go up and down, but where it is in a good place for the market. Mm-hmm. Plus, it has longevity. So once it has longevity and is in a good place in the market, it is typically considered a blue chip stock.
Okay. All right.
I just want to clarify, it's not a penny stock. So if somebody tell you they got a really good penny stock, that is not blue chip. Okay. There is no blue chip penny stocks.
All right. Now, when it comes to investing wisely, how many avenues or when it comes to investing, do you just invest in this one thing and you sit on that one thing, or can you have multiple investments?
I would like to tell people to invest in multiple things, but to make sure that they're doing it correctly. If you like Jordans, but you can't afford Jordans, invest in Jordan. Then you will be able to buy some Jordans, because the Jordans are still selling and retro Jordans are still selling. So Jordan as a brand is still selling. Let's say I shop at Walmart. Well, then invest in Walmart, because Walmart does good when the economy is bad, and Walmart does good when the economy is good. Walmart is a pretty stable place currently. If you said, hey, you know what? I like the low cost of Aldi's. It's a grocery store that is now competing against Walmart and being the lowest food producer. But then I guess you want to invest in Aldi's, right? If you say, hey, I like Mobile gas station or Exxon gas station, and now you I like gas from Exxon Mobil, well, then invest in Exxon Mobil. Some people could be diehard BP people. I am, or I look for a BP or a Super America. Guess what? You can invest in any of those chains, BP, gas station, or you can invest in Super America or Speedway. I don't know if it's the same company, but they do have the same symbols. Those are 5 companies right there that people utilize on a regular basis. They utilize them on a regular basis. And if you utilize these on a regular basis, pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, pick all 5 if you want to. But the biggest thing I want to drive home is invest in those things that you utilize. and you will have a better understanding of what you're purchasing.
Okay, so the Bible says in Ecclesiastes 11:2, it said, "Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disasters may come upon the land." And so Solomon is encouraging us to have 7 streams or 7 ventures. And so they don't all have to be in the same thing, and they shouldn't, because last week we talked about diversifying.
Yeah.
But when we talk about these stocks, like stocks in the different things that we enjoy or we use, or the different things that are doing well in the marketplace, is there a certain amount of money that you can make an investment in? Because of course, if you made a $10 investment, I forgot how much stock I bought. In one of these places, I bought some stock, but I only bought like $50 worth of stock. And I see it, I get pennies for interest.
Yeah.
So of course, at $50, it would take a lifetime for that to be worth anything. You know what I mean? So what's a good number, if there is such a thing? What's a good number when we talk about buying stock that will bring a return that you could build on?
A return that you can build on. Now, that is a number that I do not know, because
Okay.
at any point in time, a stock could go down, a stock could go up.
Okay.
And that was one thing that some people did do. They was inflating stocks to go against hedge fund owners.
Mhm.
And then, so in that incident, you have people inflating the stock just to pull everything from underneath a bunch of hedge fund owners.
Mhm.
But then you also have people who are venture capitalists, and they may be going in and disrupting a market just so they can pull out more money. All of these things can happen. So I never want you to put all your eggs in one basket, and I never want you to believe that the market is ever going to be stable. So no market is ever stable. That's why the biggest thing that I can tell somebody is to invest. Now, if you have $10, $50, $100, you can go on a lot of apps. I don't want to give any app any preference right now because they're not paying us. So I don't want to give any app preference.
Okay.
But there are a lot of apps out there that will do investing for you. Now, my biggest thing is I like going through an investment company that has an app, not just an app that is investing for you. And the reason why I chose an investment company that has an investment app is because they're credible. So
Okay.
when it comes to investing, anybody can take your money. I shouldn't say it like that.
Sure. No, that's true. Anybody can take your money,
Yeah,
but
anybody can take your money, but not anybody can effectively be held responsible for giving you back your money.
most
So
definitely.
you go through credible sources like a bank, or you go through a credible source like a credit union. There's something attached, there's an attachment. Even though the money is inside of a market that is volatile, you can go to that bank or credit union and say, I gave you $1,000. Where is that money?
Right.
Versus being dependent on an app
Hmm.
that can literally go down, and then there is no structure for you to invest in, and there is no one to
Oh
call.
yeah, yeah. But that's very important and very wise advice, because an app can just shut down and disappear, but a brick and mortar, let's say it's through a certain bank, and they're a national chain, they're everywhere, so they can't just pull up and leave. Where an app, you can just shut down, take the money, and run. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's very sound advice. And so investing wisely, you have to do your due diligence. It's just not, it's not an automatic pilot type of thing, like cruise control, that you just put your money in there and then it just do all the work. No, you got to kind of watch it. Now, even though I don't like investing, I do have a large amount of money that's in different stocks now, through a company that's managing my retirement. And they asked me, do you want to put it in high risk or do you want to put it in low risk, or do you want to put it in medium risk? And then because I'm looking at, my age and when I'm going to retire, I'm leaning more towards a high risk. But I got to watch it though, because when things begin to turn, I got to make sure I make that call so they can switch it down to a low risk. So there's not an automatic pilot that you just put your money in this investment and then you don't pay attention to it. Now you don't necessarily have to watch it every day. Now, I'm not watching it every day, but I am attentive to the news when I do watch news, because I don't watch news every day. And I'm attentive to, different financial reports. We talk about interest rates going up or going down. And so I do got my ear kind of, out there, but I'm not, every day read the stock market and every day looking. And so I just want a person to know that investing wisely also means that you have to pay attention to your investments, because at some point you may have to move it. If that investment is not doing well, then you might want to shift that one to an investment that's doing a little better. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. You always, the game is the game. The game.
Sure, it's a game. Life is the game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm like it's like playing a really good game. The more involved you are, the more you can see things happening.
Mhm.
However, it is a game. So as you're investing, right? I make no disclaimers and say one is better than the other. So I'm a real estate guy and I'm a gold guy. So those are the two things, in silver. So those are the things in which I invest heavily in, or I'm more lenient to invest in. I guess that's a better way to put it. And the reason for that is I have seen better things done with those than with others.
Okay.
However, I did invest in stocks and I did do mutual funds, and I probably got like another couple of hundred bonds out there. So yes, I do believe that you do have to have multiple things in which you're doing in order to bring in a residual income. So with that being said, I want you to say that I am probably more involved in knowing how these things are transpiring. But it all depends on your level, because just like Pastor said, there's a company out there that's watching this thing day in and day out. But he still got his hand on the trigger. So you pick how much you want to be involved. I like being involved 100% or at least 90% of the way. I'm not gonna say 100 all the ways, but I want to be involved at least 90% of the way. Pastor Burns is involved about 50% of the way. Like he's understanding what's going on, but it's somebody managing the ins and outs. But if he hears something that he doesn't like, or he hears something coming that he like, hey, I don't think it's gonna work, he can still step in and still move his money to save it or put it into a better position.
Okay.
The same is true on my side when I'm listening almost every single day, and I'm always listening to the updates and trying to see which one works or what property, what area is better than what, things like that. Even though I'm doing it diligently, I'm still in the same boat as Pastor Burns, because of the fact that all I can do is listen, interpret, and then make a decision and say, hey, I want to shift over here, or hey, I want to move it back. Even though we're in two different listening categories, we still only have the same option. We have to listen and make a decision. Okay. So as you're investing, remember, listen and then make a decision. Don't let somebody tell you something that you don't know.
Yeah.
If you think Walmart is the gold, cool. Let somebody bring you information and then you can make a decision. Don't just listen to random people tell you do this and do that.
Yeah.
Do some research, get some kind of clarification, and then do a sound investment.
Yeah. I think that takes us to our next part. I don't know if we got all of our investment wisely out.
Yeah.
But our next thing was increasing in your value. And so when you talked about listening, even though we have the same option, you being 90% or more involved in it, you hear it quicker, you can respond quicker. Where for me, even though I got the same options, I may not hear it as quickly, So between the time I hear it and I pull the trigger can be, a delay um, versus the time you hear it and pull the trigger. And so it may not seem like a big difference, but a lot of money could be lost.
It could be, it
You know
could
what
be, it could, ooh, it could be a big difference. Some people out there know, some people don't know. But yes, it could be. You talking about moments difference. We talking about like an hour difference, and you could talk about hundreds of dollars worth of differences.
Yeah. I watch with my wife when she does her trading, and I watch her sometimes. She'll have me watch her as she watching the market, and she be waiting on it to get to a certain place before she cut it off. And I'll be like, you know what? This thing is just crazy, because then sometimes it'll be like just 5 minutes, and then it'll be like boom, that thing undipped. And she'd be like, oh man, now she have to try to wait and see if it's coming back, or she had to just counter losses and come in another day. So when we talk about money that's why they call it currency. Money moves. Money is not stagnant. It's not sitting still. And so you have to be attentive of what your money is doing. That's why when we talked about earlier, the importance of giving your money an assignment. Yeah. So let's talk about increasing your value. So we're going to invest wisely, increasing your value. The Bible talks about in Proverbs 22 and 29. It said, do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings and will not serve before lower rank officials. We looked at that in scripture last week. And we talked about the fact that when you increase your value, that it opens up your options. So let's talk about increasing your value.
So oftentimes people look at increasing your value and they only think one way. But I'm telling you, when we looked at last week, when it was like enhancing your skills, we was talking about being more proficient at what you do. Increasing your value is how does that look? Cool. Now we will go for that job offer because I have more value. So it's not just about increasing your skill. It's about being able, one, to negotiate, because many people don't understand that your job is temporary. Back in older days where we had the 401k and people was at their job for 30 years, that is not the current landscape we're in. Most people are not staying at their job for 40 to 50 years. They're staying at their job for the extent of 20 years, or they're staying at their job to the extent that they can accelerate what they're doing and then move on into doing other things. So when it comes to negotiations, remember your job and your job's competitors are both looking for the most qualified person. So as you're negotiating how much you may want to get paid for your job, you must realize that there's a competitor out there that may pay more. Now, this is where the gamble comes in. Are you willing to get paid more to be at a competitor's or do a competitor's product, or do you want to stay and try to negotiate for higher? Both of those things will increase your value. Now, when I say that, a big thing that happens or does happen commonly in the technology world is you have AT&T and you have Charter Communications, you have Comcast, you have, I think it's Global. These are all cable companies, as well as these are all cable companies operating in a lot of different markets. Mm-hmm. So AT&T, in order to go against or to compete, they bought out Dish Network. If I'm saying it right, they bought out Dish. And then on top of that, they start introducing fiber to go against those people that are in the coax or fiber optics to coax business. Mm-hmm. So how do you leverage your skills? Well, if I work at AT&T and I know fiber optic and I know coaxial and I know how to do whole house, and I'm not getting paid the amount that I want to get paid, what stops me from going to a competitor's and saying, hey, I got all these skills. I need to get paid more.
Mm-hmm.
The workload is going to be predominantly the same. The vehicle is going to be mostly the same, and the equipment is going to be very, very similar. Why? Because they're operating in the same field. Coaxial don't change, and neither do your phone line or your Ethernet cord. None of that stuff has changed. So it doesn't matter who does it, what name is on the side of the van. If you negotiate properly, you can get a raise. Another way about another way about increasing your value is actually going for that next promotion. Oftentimes we are stuck just where we are,
Mm-hmm.
and we say, hey, you know what, where I'm at is good enough, it can pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice sentiment, but go for the promotion. Hey, we got a supervisor position, go for that supervisor position. Hey, we got this night shift manager, go for that night shift manager. And I say that because sometimes we put ourselves in a slump
Mm-hmm.
where we are where we want to be, and we don't want to make that next step because it's an unknown next step.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a manager, but how does that management look like?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good at my job, but they have this one management position, but I don't really want it because I can make more money working overtime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or or you take that management position and you leverage your time properly, and you're at home while all your guys are in the field working, and you're on the phone telling people how to do the job instead of you having to be there doing the job.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, even in my position,
Mm-hmm.
if someone doesn't know something, I don't have to be there to walk them through it. I
Right.
did construction for many years. I did contracting for many years. So I can walk a lot of things through on the phone. So I don't need to be in one city. I can literally be everywhere to help out many contractors get on their feet. So that's the difference.
So listen at this, and then I got a beef. I got to get off my chest. Um, Jim Roy, he says, formal education will make you a living, but self education will make you a future, a fortune. Self
Yes.
education will make you a fortune. And so, what you were talking about when you talked about uh, taking the promotion, when you talked about, looking at where you are, those different things like that is self education, is you evaluating what's available to you and where you are. And he says self uh, education will make you a fortune, where formal education will just make you a living. And that's where most people are. They do the formal education and they're just making a living, and it's almost habitual that's the way we were raised, that's the way people think, and they don't move past just making a living. And a lot of times, because they're not willing to be patient, you know, uh, we find ourselves working harder with the overtime trying to make up for it. But just like you say, you could be at home on the phone where the other guys doing all of that work. All right. And another quote I wanted to go over was Zig Ziglar. Ziglar, he said, "You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great." And
Yeah.
so a lot of times people are waiting to be the best of whatever, and you don't have to be at your greatest peak to start, but you definitely have to start in order to be great. And so we talk about increasing your value.
Yeah.
Don't allow how you see yourself to cause you to be paralyzed, and don't allow your education level to cause to put more value in formal education than in self education. Because my grandmother used to say, "There's educated fools," you know.
Yes.
So there's people who got formal education, but they still not the smartest when it comes to different other areas. Now, let me just get this off my chest because we got about 10 minutes left, and then I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna be all right. I'll make an appointment to the therapist, and I'll be all right. But you said that the old school was the 401k landscape, and that's not the landscape of today. And you said today people only work about 20 years. So then I was trying to figure this out because I'm going on 31 years, as a pastor. So, I was supposed to have been out 11 years ago, and so I don't know how to feel about that. 'Cause you say I'm old school and I'm
Absolutely.
missing out because I stayed in there 11 years longer than I was supposed to be in there.
Well,
Okay, I'm gonna let you off the hook on that one. I'm gonna let you off.
I mean, I can answer it, but you ain't gonna like the answer. You ain't gonna like my answer. You ain't gonna like my answer.
Come on, I'm a big boy. I can handle it. Come on, throw it out.
Yes, yes. Too often we stay in our same position out of comfort or desire, and we fail to move to the next level. Um, but in general, so it's not just to you. So to everybody out there that's listening, right? The name of the game is not the name of the game for everyone out there right now is not to have the government retire you, but for you to retire you. That's the name of the game in this environment. That's why you got people who can make millions of dollars playing video games and people watch it. You got people who can make music right now, sell it, and it be distributed from Facebook, YouTube, and they are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they don't have a distribution deal. If you remember how it was an interview that Jay-Z did, it was another interview that Lil Wayne did, and these are two separate interviews, so you can go and check them out. When it was talking about it, when you talk about old school, we had to be good, listen, and then get a distribution deal. That's not the case anymore. Now I can be good, be heard, and I can just distribute my own product. I don't need a distribution deal that may lock me in. Back in the old school, you are trained to go to work for a company and stay there until you die or they retire you. Mm-hmm. New school, you are trained to understand what the job do and then move on to another industry or to be more efficient at what you do. So that's the difference between new school and old school. They're not bad in the sense. It's just what is the things that we was taught when we was growing up versus the things that youngers are taught. And if you're younger than me, you're taught a very vast amount of information. It's like social media payments. That wasn't a thing back when I was in high school. Now being able to get paid from social media is an actual thing. A streamer wasn't even a profession. That was just something that some couch potato did. Now being a streamer is an actual paid profession. You can be an actual streamer. How about playing basketball? Being a basketball superstar was something in my generation. Now I could be a digital basketball superstar and playing 2K and having money, winning prizes and getting paid. Why? Because that's a newer generation. So if you understand those things, know that the 401k is not something in which you want to be goal driven to having. Having a passive income, like we're talking about, like investing wisely and increasing your value is what new generations are doing, because the old generation, no offense, the old generation is moving on. That's the reason why that's the reason why they say a lot of stuff like we don't have enough money to cover all our baby boomers. That's why they're pushing the retirement age back up into the 70s and possibly into the 80s. It's because they don't have enough money coming in.
So couple things. That was very good wisdom for people to understand that. And I'll say this just so we're clear on it. Most of that don't apply to me.
Yes.
And so as a man of God, being hired by God, that's not going to be my fate. Matter of fact, he says in Colossians 3:23-24, the NIV, he said, whatever you do, work with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. And so, just to make sure that we clarifying the difference, is that, when it comes to working for the Lord, I could work for the Lord in my 80s or 90s and still live a better life than somebody who's, working, like a Hebrew slave. So, I just wanted to make sure we clear that up. You know that my God can afford my dreams. You know,
I
and
just want to say,
and He will supply all of my needs. Yeah, you know. Matter
so
of fact, let me give y'all this mantra, and we got about 5 minutes left, and I'm gonna cut off before James can say anything. So we're gonna cut off since he coming for the old people, as he said. No, but that's real talk though. That's real talk. And but this is a good mantra though. You have to say this: I am consistently growing, learning, and increasing my value in service to God and others. And so it's really the moment that you stop learning is when you start dying. And so
Yeah.
whether you be old or whether you be young, the moment you stop learning is the moment you start dying. You know, my mother is in her 80s, and I'm always excited when she's doing new things, whether it's when the iPhones came out or the phones or with the tablets and the different things that she's keeping up with, you know, technology and different things that's out. Because the moment that you stop learning, that's the moment that you really start dying. And so it's not an age thing, it's whether you're a lifelong learner or not. And so you know, and for the record, for anybody that want to come for me, you can't keep up. You can't keep up with me. You you, you don't want the smoke. You don't want the smoke. Did I say that right? That's what
Yes,
I'm saying.
yes, you did say that right. But okay, I do want to say for ministry now, just for ministry in particular, and ministry in particular. So everybody understand that when I was telling about working a job, ministry isn't a work, it's a call. So that's the difference. If you worked a job and you was in, I'm not saying my generation. If you're in a younger generation, 20 years is about the limit. If you're in an older generation, 40 to 60 years is about the limit. However, when it comes to ministry, I want to make sure I say that when it comes to ministry,
You
remember
good, Jay. You good.
that is a
Good.
call. It's a call. It's not a job. There's a difference. The call on your life allows you to be in ministry for an extended long length of time. If you consider it a job, you will see how much pressure you got to go through for doing a job.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's the same too. Now, when you talk about job and ministry, you know, there are people that work in ministry as a job, you know, and it's not a calling for them. And even though they're in ministry, those rules still, um, you know, apply to them, you
Yes.
know. And so that's important to understand that, because a lot of times is even you could work and not enjoy what you're doing, and you could die sooner, you know, and be older and feel older and look older. And so, you know, a lot of things come into play. But I wasn't coming for you, James. I was just, you know, just thought I would, you know, throw that out there. Listen, we are out of time. It's been a great show. We talked about investing wisely, and we talked about increasing your value. And so next week we'll pick it up, if we have anything left for increasing your value, and then we'll begin to talk about the whole idea of leveraging your technology. And so closing comments.
Remember, small assigned steps in the right direction will get you to where you need to be.
You get pretty good with them little short, you know. You like if it's gonna run out, it ain't gonna be on me. It's gonna do, you know. I'm gonna start saying mines, and then when it's 3 seconds left, then I'll say, "Okay, James, what's your closing comment?" All right, now that's very very good wisdom. You know, small adjustments is what you're saying. And so, listen, thank you again for tuning in to another Financial Friday. And listen, we're looking forward to you taking the 90-day challenge. We're still working on perfecting that. And so we'll look forward to talking about that on next week, a little more in depth. But listen, thank you again for tuning into Financial Friday. Remember, you got to be disciplined, got to be diligent, and you got to be determined. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. We out. Peace.